welcome back and welcome to Dreamwalker Productions. This is the new Dreamwalker studio, and I am your host, Grant. Thanks for bearing with me here lately. Been trying to work out the audio bugs and video where it's just right. So please, if any of the background music or anything, I'm trying to weed everything out where it sounds good. So, but today is going to be about skinwalkers, or this particular video is going to be about skinwalkers. And if you in the Navajo culture, skinwalker and their belief is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. The term is never used for healers. In the Navajo language, Naldalushi translates to by the means of it. It goes on all fours. While perhaps the most common variety seen in horror fiction by non-Navajo people, the Naldalushi is one of the several varieties of skinwalkers in Navajo culture. Specifically, they are the type of anti-Jenny. I can't pronounce some of these words. Navajo witches, including skinwalkers, represent the antithesis of Navajo culture values, while community healers and culture workers are known as medicine men and women, or by other positive terms in the community, indigenous language. Witches are seen as evil, performing harmful ceremonies and manipulative magic, and a perversion of the good works of medicine people traditionally perform. In order to practice their good works, traditional healers may learn about both good and evil magic in order to protect against evil. But people who choose to become witches are seen as corrupt. The legend of the skinwalker is not well understood outside of the Navajo culture, both due to reluctance to discuss the subject with outsiders, as well as Cherokee Nation academic Adrian Keeney says is a lack of necessary culture context to the stories are embedded within. Traditional Navajo people are reluctant to reveal skinwalker lore to non-Navajos or discuss it at all among those that they do not trust. The founder of the web, Native Appropriations, has written in response to non-Navajo incorporating the legend into their writing, and specifically the impact when J.K. Rowling did so. That when this is done, we as a Native people are now open up to a barrage of questions about the beliefs and traditions. But these are not the things that need or should be discussed by outsiders at all. I'm sorry if that seems unfair, but that's how cultures survive. Animals associated with witchcraft usually include tricksters such as the coyote. However, it may include other creatures, usually those associated with death or bad omens. They might also possess living animals or people and walk around in their bodies. Skinwalkers may be male or female. Skinwalker stories told by the Navajo children may be complete life and death struggles that end in either skinwalker or Navajo killing the other, or partial encounter stories that end in a stalemate. encounter stories may be composed as Navajo victory stories, the skinwalker approaching a hogan and being scared away. Non-native interpretations of skinwalker stories typically take the form of partial encounter stories on the road, where the protagonist is temporarily vulnerable, but then escapes from the skinwalker in a way not traditionally seen in Navajo stories. Sometimes Navajo children take European folk stories and substitute skinwalkers for generic killers like the Hook. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's not generic like that. It's not Captain Hook. How are you going to compare Captain Hook to a skinwalker? Um, so that's the background and legend of the skinwalker. Now, what if, you know, it's just rattling around in my head here. And maybe some of the Bigfoot community out there may not be too happy with this idea. They want to stick to, because half of the Bigfoot community is all about Bigfoot is Gigantopithecus, uh, native to Earth. Others think that there's some kind of a UFO tie-in or spiritual tie-in. Well, if he can, a lot of all the Dogman stories, uh, the Bigfoot stories, the Mothman stories, the cryptid, a lot of the different cryptid stories all kind of have similar things involved. Well, and then we get to talking about the skinwalkers. And a skinwalker, according to it's some witch, right? It's supposed to be a witch. Well, how many of these things happen? What if it is a shapeshifter? The skinwalker is a shapeshifter. And the natives I heard say that they can turn themselves into a Bigfoot. Well, if that's the case, they could turn themselves into a dogman. They could turn themselves into a mothman, probably. They could turn themselves into maybe little fairy creatures or something. I don't know. But what if it is this one particular? What if we're not dealing with a whole bunch of cryptids, but multiple, the same cryptid, one cryptid? It's a shapeshifter cryptid. It's just a thought, just an idea I'm kicking around out there. What if we're not dealing with Bigfoot, in other words? What if we're not dealing with a dogman? What if we're actually dealing with a shapeshifter? Why else can this thing just disappear? Why else can this thing, how can it just camouflage itself or uh, shoot at it and not kill it? Well, maybe it's part of the witch's power. It's unholy. If it's unholy, then, well, the only other way to stop something that is unholy is something that is holy, right? I was just kind of going over some of this Greek lore, Greek mythology. There's also the goat man, right? Sounds far-fetched. Kind of laugh. There's one good trail cam photo I've seen of the goat man. So after sitting here for a little bit studying Greek mythology, Greek gods, I came across Pan. And the Greek god Pan is actually the goat man, the god of the god of the wild, shepherds and rustic music. He is considered to be one of the oldest Greek gods and was especially beloved among the people, according to this here. Eh, you know, we'll go to. I want you to I want you to check this out. Okay. Um, yeah, so been tweaking my audio, trying to get my audio just right with my video. So thank you for bearing with that. So Anubis, move on to Anubis. Anubis is like the oldest possible resemblance of the dog man that I could find, right? Some of you may know that Anubis was the Egyptian god, also known as Impu, um, ancient Egyptian god, the god of funerary rites, protector of graves, and guide to the underworld. In ancient Egyptian religion, usually depicted as a canine or a man with a canine head. And a few things were as significant in this goal as the rituals maintaining the cycle of life, death, and the afterlife. Therefore, Anubis was not evil, but rather one of the most important gods who kept evil out of Egypt. Yeah, can't talk. See, still having to get used to being in front of the camera too. It's not exactly an easy thing having to do videos, but I like doing videos. So, what is Anubis the god of? Anubis was the Egyptian deity of cemeteries and embalming, as well as the practicer of graves. As with any other culture or religion around the world, the Egyptians believed in paying respect to their dead. Um, as time, God Anubis in modern times till now. As time passed, Anubis lost his popularity as other gods came into existence. However, there are still people around who appreciate and respect his power. Anubis is a well-known deity in the New Age religion. Um, Anubis has the power over death. He walks between worlds, protecting the dead and ushering them to the afterlife. In his earliest form, he was a king of the dead. Anubis was also the one who weighed the hearts of man of the deceased against the feather of Ma'at, Ma'at, Ma'at. Um, what? What is Anubis's weakness? Now, weaknesses: gold. While in a jackal vessel, at least, gold can harm Anubis and weaken him, though it doesn't appear to be able to kill him, burning his body. The only way to kill him, Anubis, is to burn his body. Hmm. Or maybe a silver bullet. Okay. Just want to go over a couple of these other things. Skinwalkers. The shapeshifters. And what if we're just dealing with shapeshifters? Cannibalistic shapeshifters. Um, what are the skills of a skinwalker? Skinwalkers can read other humans' minds and control them. Skinwalkers from two different groups can communicate telepathically and are able to choose which thoughts they share. Voice mimicry. In Native American lore, skinwalkers can copy animal or human voices to lure their victims to feed on them. Doesn't that sound like Bigfoot? What does Bigfoot do? He mimics animals and people and lures them in, right? Same thing that the skinwalker here. What does skinwalker mean in the dictionary? A person with a supernatural ability to turn into any animal that he or she desires. Let's see. Some fandom page here. Yeah, I'm just working out the bugs to my show. Thanks for bearing with everything. I'm just kind of getting my bearings going. I promise things will improve. What is a skinwalker legend? How do stories and movies? See, I don't know. It just sounds like what we're dealing with is probably an evil entity instead of multiple things here. What? So let's check out the meaning of Wendigo. A Wendigo is a supernatural being belonging to the spiritual traditions of Algonquin speaking First Nations in North America. Wendigos are described as powerful monsters that have the desire to kill and eat their victims. In most legends, humans transform into Wendigos because of their greed or weakness. It sounds like a skinwalker. What if Wendigos are skinwalkers? What we're talking about is the same thing. Bigfoot, skinwalker, Wendigo, skinwalker, big dog man, skinwalker. There's too many things I have in common with the skinwalker here. What do Wendigos eat? Wendigos were once humans, but after being forced to eat human flesh to survive, they become supernatural monsters that retain little human features they once possessed. After their transformation, they begin to crave human flesh and feed solely on it. What happens if you're bitten by a Wendigo? Despite being undead, seeming mutant humans, Wendigos are not zombies, nor do they have an infectious bite. A person bitten by a Wendigo will not become one due to the attack, only if they eat human flesh, while a Wendigo spirit is free to possess them. So let's find out how we can defeat the Wendigo if we're monster hunting. Silver! Why you like a silver bullet? It says silver. How about that? Silver. The pad of definitions mention that Wendigo can succumb to silver, going as far as saying with some effort, silver weapons may be used to kill Wendigo through total mutilation. Silver stakes. The most gruesome method of killing a Wendigo is to destroy its heart with a silver stake before dismembering it. That sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? What else needs something silver to kill it? Werewolves? Where did the whole silver bullet thing come about? What? A stake? A silver stake? A silver bullet? Right through the heart of a Wendigo. And then you got to dismember it, right? So that's how you defeat it. So it says the most gruesome method of killing a Wendigo is to destroy its heart with a silver stake before you got to do that first, and then you got to dismember it, then you got to hack it apart. Hey, like destroying the heart isn't good enough. You gotta just dismember the thing after you do all that. Hey, here we go. How many Wendigos are there? They were either eaten or also became Wendigos, making 13 remaining minors and 13 other possible Wendigos, giving us a total of 26 remaining Wendigos, a dead Makapitu, and 3 eaten bodies. This raises to 27. This raises to 27 when we remember that the Makapitu possesses Hannah and made her a Wendigo. Well, can we say it's safe to say that there's probably more than 27 now? Probably a bigger number than that, and it's all the same. So if there's 27 Wendigos, shapeshifters, skinwalkers, let's put that. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in this one. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. When you look at, can Wendigos have babies? Wendigos have fertility rate about 15%. I wonder who did this study, by the way. They can mate with other Wendigos, humans, werewolves, and demons. For the most part, the child will always inherit the curse, meaning that they will become or they will be a Wendigo. Only exception to this rule is with humans, in which case there is a 50-50 chance. Okay. Uh, let's type in how to kill a skinwalker. And apparently, it's a curse to even say the word skinwalker. When you, the Navajos won't even say the word. They refuse to even utter the name skinwalker because they believe it calls the spirit in. It's not. I didn't pan out the way I was hoping. Let's type in something different. What are the skills of a skinwalker? Skinwalkers can read other humans' minds and control them. Skinwalkers from 2 different groups can communicate telepathically. Yeah, we already covered that one. Hold on, Scooby. You go outside. Know what it is? Hey, give me a minute, boy. Okay, give me a minute. You gotta give me a minute. Yeah, you gotta give me a minute. You need to go. You need to go poop. Yeah, you need to go poop. I think I gotta take a short break. Let Scooby out and do his business. Please enjoy the music.
I'd like to thank my producer, my writers, my director, my friends, and you, the ordinary people who made me what I am today. Next.
Okay. Get this off of here. Meet the Navajo Skinwalker, the demonic shapeshifter that Native Americans won't mention by name. According to Navajo legend, skinwalkers are shape-shifting witches that disguise themselves as deformed animals like wolves and bears. The legend of the shape-shifting entity known as the skinwalker has largely been relegated to hoax status. After all, it is difficult to believe that a humanoid figure has been transforming into a four-legged animal and terrorizing animals in the American Southwest. While unscientific, the Navajo skinwalker does have deep roots in the Native American lore. The rest of America got its first real taste of the Navajo legend in 1996 when the Desert News published an article entitled Frequent Flyers. The story of chronicled a Utah family's traumatizing experience with the supposed creature that included cattle mutilations and disappearances, UFO sightings, and the appearance of crop circles. And as you can hear, Scooby is doing his thing. He's defending his territory like a good boy. But the family's most distressing encounter occurred one night just 18 months after moving onto the ranch. Terry Sherman, the father of the family, was walking his dogs around the ranch late at night when he encountered a wolf. But this was no ordinary wolf. It was perhaps 3 times bigger than a normal one, had glowing red eyes, and stood unfazed by 3 close-range shots Sherman blasted into its hide. Sherman family weren't the only ones to be traumatized on the property. After they moved out, several new owners experienced eerily similar encounters with these creatures. And today the ranch has become a hub of paranormal research that's aptly named Skinwalker Ranch, as we know it today. While paranormal investigators probe the property with novel intentions, what they seek has a history that is centuries old. This is the legend of the Navajo Skinwalker. What is this? What's this guy?
You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot. We charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
In Navajo lore, there's one creature so terrifying that the Navajo themselves rarely dare to even utter its name. That creature is the Skinwalker, also called Yi Narloshi, or with it, he goes on all fours. It's perhaps the most bone-chilling monster in the entirety of Native American mythology. However, the Skinwalkers aren't actually monsters at all. They're people, often former healers or medicine men who've crossed over into darkness. Able to transform into animals and wear their skins, Skinwalkers are said to be pure evil, capable of spreading disease, disaster, and death. But what's scariest about these supernatural creatures is that they're not merely confined to legend. Many witnesses have claimed to see skinwalkers and their glowing red eyes in real life. There's even a hotbed of activity in Utah called Skinwalker Ranch, where some have reported unsettling encounters in the dead night. This is the legend of the Skinwalker, the elusive, violent creature that the Navajo won't even mention, lest they conjure it straight to their door. You're listening to History Uncovered, brought to you by the digital publisher All That's Interesting, where we explore the untread corners of the natural world and the world past. I'm All That's Interesting staff writer Kalina Fraga. Today, we're exploring the eerie legend of the Navajo skinwalker. According to Navajo legend, skinwalkers are men and women, though usually men and often healers, who hide in plain sight. By day, they might seem like a normal member of the tribe, but once darkness falls, they transform, taking on the form of an animal like a coyote, cougar, or bear, and wearing its skin. That's why Navajo tradition allegedly states that tribe members cannot wear the skin of predators. Instead, people are permitted to only wear skins from the likes of cows, sheep, or deer. So how does someone become a skinwalker? It takes a great and violent sacrifice. In order to gain the powers of transformation, someone must betray one of society's most highly held values and kill a close member of their own family. Having committed this act, skinwalkers gain a number of dark powers. They can read minds and control someone's actions, as well as bring disease, death, and destruction onto a tribe. Skinwalkers are also imbued with supernatural abilities that allow them to run fast, jump high, and move without leaving tracks. One Navajo writer describes skinwalkers by saying, quote, "They curse people and cause great suffering and death. At night, their eyes glow red like hot coals. It is said that if you see the face of a Nardloshi, they have to kill you. They use a mixture that some call corpse powder, which they blow onto your face. Your tongue goes black, and you go into convulsions, and you eventually die." Unquote. As if that's not horrifying enough, skinwalkers are also believed to gather in dark spaces like caves, where they commit cannibalism, necrophilia, and incest as they perform dark ceremonies and curse people from afar. And if you're ever facing down a creature as chilling as this, how can you kill it? Legend states that skinwalkers are immortal, but can only be killed with a bullet or a knife rubbed in white ash. Thankfully, the legend of the skinwalker appears to be just that, a legend, a ghost story told around campfires or Native American longhouses. However, some witnesses have claimed that they've had harrowing encounters with skinwalkers in real life. When it comes to skinwalkers, Native American tribes are often tight-lipped. As such, there's scant historical evidence that these supernatural beings exist, with some exceptions. Take the Navajo witch purge of 1878. 14 years earlier, in 1864, Navajos living in present-day Arizona were forced to go on a grueling and devastating journey from their native lands to New Mexico after losing a series of battles to the U.S. Army. Though they were eventually allowed to return home, the tribe suffered from illness and death. And in 1878, they laid the blame at the feet of alleged witches or skinwalkers within the tribe. Then, after someone allegedly found a number of witch artifacts, the tribe conducted a purge of suspected witches, killing 40 people they believed to be skinwalkers. Other tales of skinwalkers are more recent and anecdotal, but no less chilling. In one, a woman delivering newspapers early in the morning on the Navajo reservation in Arizona reported hearing scratching on the passenger door of her vehicle. Before she could figure out what it was, the door opened, and she found herself staring down a half-man, half-animal with glowing red eyes. As it reached for her baby in the passenger seat, she hit the gas, but the skinwalker kept pace with her car, bounding along right beside her, and only abandoned its pursuit when she reached a gas station. Another tale
Just like Bigfoot stories.
describes a farmer who heard laughing in his sheep pen. There he saw a ram standing apart from the sheep, who, as he watched, rose onto its hind legs and walked like a human. In yet another story from the 1980s, A family claimed that a dark shadow jumped out in front of their car, and that later they heard chanting outside their home and saw 3 shadowy figures on the other side of a fence. But one of the most shocking skinwalker sightings happened fairly recently, deep in Utah at a place dubbed, appropriately, Skinwalker Ranch. The story of Skinwalker Ranch begins in 1994 when Terry Sherman and his wife, Gwen, bought the 480-acre property. Within 18 months, they sold it, allegedly because of a series of odd and unsettling incidents that left them in terror. As Terry tells it, he and his family saw UFOs, crop circles, and skinwalkers themselves. He recalls one night when he was outside with his dogs and heard strange, seemingly male voices muttering in an unknown language some 25 feet above. His dogs went berserk and ran back into the house. A number of the Sherman's cows also turned up horribly mutilated. One cow had its eye gouged out. Another had a 6-inch hole carved into its rectum. Most baffling of all, some of the cows disappeared entirely. Terry said, quote, "It's hard for a 1,200 or 1,400-pound animal to just walk off without leaving tracks, or to stop and walk backwards completely and never miss their tracks. It was just gone. It was very bizarre," unquote. What's more, he also described seeing a strange, frightening creature on the ranch, which he described as wolf-like, but 3 times bigger than any wolf he'd ever seen, and undaunted by the 3 shots he fired in its direction. The Sherman family sold their ranch to UFO enthusiast Robert Bigelow in 1996, and the strange encounters continued on. The next year, one of Bigelow's employees, a biochemist named Dr. Colm Keeler, reported seeing a humanoid figure with claws sitting in a tree.
Stop.
Keeler said, quote, "The large creature lay motionless, almost casually in the tree. The only indication of the beast's presence was the penetrating yellow light of its unblinking eyes as they stared fixedly back into the night," unquote. But as frightening as these sightings are, encounters with skinwalkers remain rare, especially in part, of course, because Native Americans don't like to discuss such things at all. However, in recent years, skinwalkers are being talked about now more than ever. In fiction and on TikTok, these terrifying creatures are discussed with increasing frequency.
Like, is it getting higher in number? Like, as there's more than 27 of them.
Those raised outside of Native American tradition may have first learned of skinwalkers when they read Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling's History of Magic in North America. In that 2016 online volume, Rowling turned the skinwalker legend on its head. Certainly skinwalkers existed, she said, but they were a form of animagus, a term Rowling coined for wizards who could turn into animals. She wrote, quote, "A legend grew up around the Native American Animagi that they had sacrificed close family members to gain their powers of transformation. In fact, the majority of Animagi assumed animal forms to escape persecution or to hunt for the tribe. Such derogatory rumors often originated with non-magical medicine men who were sometimes faking magical powers themselves and fearful of exposure," unquote. On Twitter, Rowling added, quote, "In my wizarding world, there were no skinwalkers," unquote, and that the legend had been created merely to, quote, "demonize wizards," unquote. Perhaps unsurprisingly, many Native Americans took great issue with Rowling's reinterpretation of the skinwalker legend. Native American writer and historian Adrienne Keene responded by saying, quote, "It's not your world, it's our real Native world. And skinwalker stories have context, roots, and reality. You can't just claim and take a living tradition of a marginalized people. That's straight-up colonialism appropriation," unquote. Keene added, quote,
Absolutely correct. I agree with that statement.
quote, "What happens if Rowling pulls this in is we as Native people are now opened up to a barrage of questions about these beliefs and traditions, that these are not things that need or should be discussed by outsiders," unquote. Another Navajo writer, Brian Young, described himself as heartbroken and seconded Keene, writing on Twitter, quote, J.K. Rowling, my beliefs are not fantasy. If ever there was a need for diversity in young adult literature, it is BS like this. My ancestors didn't survive colonization, so you could use our culture as a convenient prop, unquote. But the Harry Potter universe is not the only place that skinwalkers have popped up in recent years. They've also appeared often on TikTok in short, eerie videos of alleged sightings which purport to prove their existence. In fact, the skinwalker tag has over 1 billion views. In one TikTok, however, a Navajo creator named Che Cage used the hashtag's popularity to explain why Native Americans don't like to talk about the skinwalker legend. She said, quote, "Pretty much what they say is that skinwalkers know that you're talking about them, and it makes them stronger and will come after you," unquote. However, Cage added that she's decided to break from tradition because, quote, "when you fear the name, you give it more power and control over your life," unquote. Whether or not you believe the skinwalker legend is up to you, and, in fact, Native Americans would probably be happier if people stopped asking so many questions about this taboo subject. But if you're alone one night, driving down a dark road, and you suddenly see a pair of glowing red eyes, then beware. It could be one of these elusive, evil witches, looking for its next victim.
Yeah. Evil witches with glowing red eyes, huh? Just like the Bigfoots with glowing red eyes, and the Dogmen with glowing red eyes, and the Mothman with glowing red eyes. Is that it?
Thanks for listening to History Uncovered. I'm History Uncovered's producer, Kit Westney. If you like the show...
That was it. Well, yeah, I hope you like this little video on skinwalkers. I figured it would be appropriate since I did one on Bigfoot and aliens and all that good stuff. It just happened to occur to me. You know, maybe I had a potential revelation, you know. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? Skinwalker? What if we're dealing with the skinwalker and not Bigfoot or Dogman? What if it's a shapeshifter we're actually encountering out there? A demonic, evil shapeshifter. Well, that's food for thought. Thanks for joining. And you can like and subscribe if you like. And give me a thumbs up. Always is nice. I aim to please. Till next time, folks. Keep on the dream walking.